What's up, Michigan fans? Welcome back to the Maize and Bluebeard podcast, where we talk all things Michigan football and basketball. MBB and the place to be, go blue. So now that things have calmed down a bit with the portal, we're in kind of a quiet stretch. If any big news or anything pops up, I'll do an update. But you're going to start seeing some of my other content ideas. Look for my coaching staff series to start rolling out, where I take a deep dive look at all the coordinators, position coaches, and analysts. Those will start rolling out soon. But I also have some other ideas for daily, specific today, fun things that I'm going to do. So today is the very first episode of Monday Michigan Memories. Number 1, where we look back on historic events and big games and big moments in Michigan sports history. And we not only will I walk you through the memory that we all remember of the game, but I'll also walk you through what I was doing at the time and what I was experiencing. And then I would love for you guys to do the same in the comments, and I think it's going to be a blast. I'll try to rotate between a good memory and a not so good memory. But starting off is the memory that made me think of this, and it's not a great one. We're going to be talking about the Miracle of Michigan, 1994, Kordell Stewart's Hail Mary. So let's get into it. And don't forget to hang around to the end of the video when I will reveal the results to yesterday's question of the day. And if you haven't today, as soon as you're done watching this video, go answer today's question of the day poll. You can find it in my community tab. Let's get back to the video. So the year was 1994. Michigan was number 4 in the country, 2-0 start to the season, and they were welcoming in number 7, Colorado, also undefeated, led by Kordell Stewart, Michael Westbrook at wide receiver, Rashaan Salam, a Heisman hopeful, at running back. A very good team. And it was a top 10 showdown that everybody was excited about. Gary Moeller was Michigan's coach. This was the final season where the Lloyd Carr era would begin in 1995. When I was young, my dad had season tickets that had been passed down to him from his dad, my grandfather, and I would go to a lot of Michigan games. My brother and me would take turns going with my dad, and this game was my turn. I was about 11 years old, so I wasn't super old. I was old enough to be into football. But I still had a lot of questions, still didn't always understand what was going on without hearing the TV or the radio announcers talk to me. So my dad had these headset earphones, the big earpieces, and I always wore those. And I would kind of keep one ear out and open to hear the crowd and one ear in there. And I would listen to Frank Beckman and Jim Brandstatter tell me what was going on. So I remember the game was a pretty well-fought game. Michigan really had the edge of the entire game with 2.5 minutes left. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. They were up 2 scores, 26-14. But they ended up giving up a touchdown drive to Colorado. Rashaan Salam scored around the 2-minute mark, and it was 26-21 Michigan. Now, if they had not let that touchdown happen, they would have won the game. They get the ball back, they could run the clock out. They would have won the game. They did neither of those things. They gave the ball back to Colorado. Kordell Stewart got him to about midfield, and there was 6 seconds left on the clock. I remember there was a buzz in the air. This was going to be a huge top 10 win. Hail Mary, things like that, they never work out. You never see something like that happen. And this was at the Big House at Michigan. I remember on the radio, Jim Brandstatter had headed down to the locker rooms already to get ready for the post-game victory interviews and stuff, and Frank Beckman was the only one on the call, so it gave it an eerie feeling also, with only him and no Brandy on there. And I was 11, so I wasn't like super short, because I was a little bit taller, but I was still way shorter than all the adults around me. So I was standing on the bleacher seats, because Michigan had just the bleacher type style seating, stadium seating. And I was standing on those to get a peek, looking between shoulders. And there was just, like I said, a buzz in the air. Now, it was in the end zone opposite me. So Colorado was going away from me. They're at the 50-yard line. My dad's seats were in the end zone, about halfway up. So I could see the play directly from behind. So most of you know, but if you were not born yet, Stewart rolls around slings it 70 yards, and what they tell you not to do, that I don't know if Michigan tried to pick it off, I don't know if they tried to knock it down, but this is why they say try to knock it down in front of you, because it tipped off a bunch of Michigan players and a Colorado receiver perfectly back, and there is Michael Westbrook. I've read that he said that they practiced that and all that, but who knows, it could have just been luck. But he catches it, lands in the end zone, and they call it a touchdown. And with that, they don't even need to kick the extra point, because remember, it was 27-21, so now, or is 26-21, so now it's 27-26 Colorado. And I remember you went from this buzz and all this cheering, people are anticipating a big win, to complete silence. In the other end zone that they scored in is where the visiting fans could be. So you saw this little gaggle of Colorado fans going crazy. All the Colorado players are running to that end zone. They're running on the field, and it was so quiet in there that you could hear the Colorado players on the field yelling and screaming and talking to each other. It was unnerving. I've never experienced something like it. And Michigan fans did not leave. We all stood there just in shock, looking for a flag, hoping the refs were going to talk to each other and call it off. Like, there's no way this is happening. No way. But it did, and it stood, and it was final. And I remember this, eventually, me and my dad always were like the last ones to leave, because he had this thing where he would always bring a garbage bag in his pocket. And when everyone cleared out, we'd go around and we'd dump out the Michigan souvenir cups and bring them home. And I hated that. We probably had 200 of those things. I remember pouring out things with tobacco in them and all sorts of stuff. And I remember some games where it was really hot, thinking, man, I kind of want to drink this. But anyway, so we were there until the place cleared out. And then walking back, I just remember Michigan fans just all walking with their head down, getting back to their car quick. There's not a lot of jovial talking and fun after. Nobody's really tailgating. People just want to get the heck out of there. Colorado fans are cheering and tailgating and saying things, which they earned the right because their team won. But the walk of shame all the way back to the golf course, if you've been to Michigan games, you got to walk down that stretch and then back to the golf course. And then I remember me and my dad just really didn't talk about it on the way home. I think my dad had the post game on the radio for a while, and I just kept reliving that play in my head over and over again. And I remember watching it on ESPN and watching replays of it. They kept talking about it. The next week they were talking about it and showing the highlights, and just looking at it and thinking, like, did they really catch it? It's just wild. And the season kind of went off the rails for Michigan after that. They had Todd Collins, who was a really good quarterback, ended up being a backup with the Buffalo Bills for a long time. Tyrone Wheatley was their running back. He got hurt in that game. Sometimes I wonder, if he hadn't gotten hurt, would they have pulled away? Would he have been able to run the clock out? Maybe. I don't know. But he was injured that game, was really out for the rest of the year. Michigan, like I said, was 2-0 going in that game. They strung a couple wins together after that to get to 4-1, but then they ended up going 8-4. They lost to Penn State, Wisconsin, and Ohio State. Made it to the Holiday Bowl and beat Colorado State. A little bit of revenge, but then, of course, Lloyd Carr started the next year. He took over from Gary Moeller because of some off-the-field incident that is neither here nor there. That's a story for another day, but it was wild. It was wild as a kid to be there and just experience that. Like I said, the complete silence. And I mean, when you're in that stadium and it's rocking, it is loud. And to go from that loud thing to just nothing, where you can hear the players on the field yelling, it's something I'll never, ever forget. And that game made, like, Michael Westbrook and Kordell Stewart's name. They were good players. They probably would have got drafted anyways, but it kickstarted their NFL careers and got them drafted even higher. I think I will always think that it did. But it was called the Michigan Miracle, and no one in Michigan thought it was a miracle. But that is always a play that's referenced for two reasons. One, why you should always just throw it up. if you have a chance at the end of the game. And 2, as a defense, to knock that ball down. Do not try to intercept it because it'll bounce and you never know what can happen. So that was today's Monday Michigan memory. If you were alive and born before that game and you have any memories of it, leave it down in the comments. Let me know what you were doing, where you were at, what you experienced. And if you were born after that, and that's a memory from before, tell me the first time you heard of it or the first time you saw those highlights and what you thought. So this was fun. I'm going to do these every Monday. I'll try to do, I've got a lot in my, there's a lot of memories. A lot of them were like that, but I've got some positive good ones too. I'll try to rotate back and forth. So look forward to another one next Monday on Monday Michigan Memories. All right, now for the question of the day. Yesterday I asked, which of these returnees, players that entered the portal for Michigan but then came back, were most important or your favorite? And the winner by a landslide was center Jake Guanera. And I would have to agree, he was probably our best offensive lineman last year. And to get him to come back and anchor that offensive line, I love that Sprague came back, and I love all the other players that stayed. But him, that was huge, because after Cole Sullivan left and it looked like he was not coming back, it was like, man, we're going to lose another young anchor on the trenches on the other side. But he came back, and that was huge, and this offensive line is going to be a strength, especially with Coach Harding. Cannot wait to see what the offensive line does. So I would agree with you, Jake Guanera. I would call him my favorite returnee, but I was excited to get them all. Zeke Berry, Jordan Young, Etta, he's going to be huge on the interior defensive line. All big returns, but Jake Guanera really was important, and I'm glad that they got him back in the fold. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. Thank you again for hanging out. It means a lot to me that you took time of your day to hang out with me and talk some Michigan sports. Be sure to leave me a comment. I respond to everyone. I love talking to you Michigan fans down there. If it's your first time here and you had fun, please subscribe, give me a like. Helps the channel grow, helps this community grow, and I have a lot of fun stuff planned for this community as it grows to interact with you guys and give you guys an interactive voice and part of this channel, and it's going to be a blast. But that's all I got, so have a fantastic day. Thank you again. I appreciate you all. I'll see you in the next video, and until I do, as always, go Blue.